Okay, I think I'm live on YouTube now. So
Cool.
hey, folks on YouTube, I think hopefully you can see us. Oh, sorry about that. I was messing around with the live stream and here it is. So, okay, perfect. QP and Ryan, you guys are joining. Awesome. We'll see if anybody else joins. I'm actually currently live streaming as well to see if anybody has asked us questions. Excellent, Misha. See you on YouTube. If you have any questions, why don't you go ahead and chime in and ask us questions. And just type them in and we'll do our best to answer. We'll do some introductions in a second. We were just working through some of the technical issues like usual. And QP and Ryan, if you can just unmute yourself and so that way you can talk whenever you're ready. That's all.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Could you hear me?
Excellent. Yeah, I can hear you now.
As well.
Thanks, QP. How's it going, buddy?
Pretty good, pretty good.
All right.
Really excited for the first office hour.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. We did promote it, but I'm not sure if anybody's going to join us. This end might end up being
It's okay. I have my question as well.
Perfect.
For Ryan.
So worst case scenario, we'll just ask our questions
Exactly.
for each other for the session. It's not that big of a deal. All right. Let's see. Yeah. Excuse me. Sorry. Yeah, and I'll fix these Zoom links shortly to everybody for the attendees, so I can give you guys panelists. It was at a mad dash because I mistakenly forgot that a Zoom meeting and a Zoom webinar are different things, so I couldn't broadcast it to YouTube. That's also. And hey, and Misha, did you want to ask any questions, by the way? If you do, you're more than welcome to just chime in and type in here if you want. Okay, well, meanwhile, in that case, let's just jump start it. Welcome to the first of what will be bi-weekly, every 2 weeks, Delta Lake Community Office Hours. We're starting off with a little light today, but fortunately, we actually have multiple people that are attending, and we're probably just going to ask each other questions. We also talk a little bit about the Delta Lake roadmap. So for any of the folks who are watching this post session, not a big deal. You can go ahead and actually dive in and learn a little bit about the roadmap as we speak. So, for starters, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Denny Lee. I'm a developer advocate here at Databricks, longtime Brickster, longtime Apache Spark and Delta guy as well. So I'm going to be here to answer some questions and also host a little bit. I want to also include next, Scott, why don't you introduce yourself?
Morning or afternoon, everyone. I don't think you can see me, but I'm Scott. I'm a software engineer on the Delta ecosystem team at Databricks, and really excited to be here.
Excellent, thanks. And next is QP, I think.
Yes. Hi, I'm QP. I'm one of the engineers from Squid, and I'm one of the maintainers of the Delta Lake Rust bindings and the Python, the native Python bindings.
Perfect. Thank you very much, QP. And by the way, Scott, QP, Scott, and Ryan, you guys should be able to turn your cameras on now because I made you all panelists. So you can, should be able to turn cameras on if we want to. And last but certainly not least, Ryan, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah. By the way, I cannot start a video because it said the host has stopped it.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I will introduce myself and why you are doing.
Anyways, yeah, I'll fix that. And meanwhile, yeah, exactly.
I'm Ryan from Databricks. I'm a software engineer and have been working on Delta Lake for many years, and basically since the beginning. Before Delta Lake, I also work in Spark, which is mainly focused on the structured streaming projects. Yeah, pretty excited to be here. Okay.
Excellent.
Yeah, thanks, Danny, for fixing it. Yeah, cool.
Thank you very much. My apologies. Yes, you would figure I would know how to work with Zoom by now, but okay, it is what it is. All right, perfect. Well, Misha has chimed in on YouTube saying he doesn't have any questions yet, so not a big deal. But then I'll call us on the line. QP, go for it. You've got some questions, so why don't we start with you, buddy?
First question, I was going to ask, are you going to show the awesome roadmap in this office hour?
That is a great question. Let me go ahead and actually pull that up right now as we speak. So give me 1 second, and I will show the roadmap. Oy vey. Sorry, I've got too many tabs open again, so I'm fighting with my tabs. You can tell that how we're a very professional organization right now. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Presenting the roadmap as we speak. Oh, sorry. There you go. Nope. Give me 1 second. It is not showing the roadmap. All right. Okay. How's that?
Yep, we can see it. Perfect.
So do you have any questions, any call outs? I mean, I've got a couple myself, but I wanted to figure if any, whether it's Scott or QP or Ryan, if you want to call anything particular out for starters. I'll just zoom in a little bit just so it's easy to read.
Yeah, I think one big project is the Delta Standalone writer, which is we are building to support like writing without Spark, which we will try to use this to build a lot of connectors. And currently Scott is like leading this project and working on, and probably we expect this can be like a release on like a Q4 next quarter. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about this project.
Excellent call. Scott, would you like to add anything to it, since you've been obviously, neck deep with the Delta Standalone writer?
Yeah, no, it's just a really exciting feature and project, and it's coming along well, and looking forward to releasing it next quarter.
Cool. And so for anybody who actually is interested more on it, in addition to chiming us with the Delta user Slack channel and or the Delta Lake email distribution list, and or directly on GitHub where you can just chime in. Like, we've already had some, in addition to the official roadmap, which calls out Flink and Presto, right? And Pulsar, excuse me, those three. We recently have pings from Beam as well. So, and there's actually some other folks as well. So if Apache Huron and Beam, excuse me, those are the two that immediately come to mind. So if there are additional projects that would like to basically utilize a JVM-based writer, in this case, which is the Delta Standalone writer, but not use Spark at all, then absolutely please chime in and ask us questions and talk to us about this, because we're actually I can probably say this for Scott, like we're actively working on it right now, but we're still early enough where we can get new requirements. So yeah, I mean, anything you want to add, Ryan or Scott, to that?
Yeah, just leave feedback, because like Denny just mentioned, we're early stages of development, so things can change if users want any different feature, any different exposed API, whatever we can do to help people build connectors.
Excellent. Perfect. That's the big one, Delta Standalone writer. QP, any call outs you want from the Rust API, especially because of the fact that, for example, the Kafka Delta Ingest project, which is related to Delta Rust, actually is in production. So anything that you particularly want to call out there?
Yeah, I'll just repeat that. So we've been working on a Kafka to Delta Lake connector, but not in JVM, a native connector that's fully written in Rust. And it's been in production and running really well so far. And so we don't have any major plan from script side. I know there are some new features that the community is planning to add to the Rust bindings. But I would just call out that the Delta Rust API for creating a new tables that's already completed from one of the community members, Connor. And that one is already completed. And so I'm really happy with the Kafka Delta Ingest performance so far.
Excellent. And then one thing I'd love to add is also the fact that we're actually planning, I think in early October, to actually have a session specifically devoted to the Kafka Delta ingest and the Delta Rust associated Delta Rust API. So if you want to dive deeper in that, obviously you can talk to us at the Delta user Slack channel, but at the same time, yeah, we are planning a session so you can dive deeper there as well. So, but of course, if anybody chimes in right now and has any questions, that's what these office hours are for. Cool. Anything else that you'd like to add in? I know that there's work from, like, for example, Nessie and Lake FS. We also are having some great work with the folks over at Stream Native with Pulsar. Gerard has been doing some amazing work with the Power BI connector, so that's been extended even much so. Anything we want to add about the Hive connector that I can think of, Ryan? Or right now, I don't think there's any. I don't recall any updates yet per se.
Hive connector, yeah, we are planning to support Hive 3 in this quarter, and so we are working on Hive 3 support right now.
Excellent. Okay, perfect. And then for any of the folks who are Delta Lake inclined, but also not so inclined to writing the code, we actually have a lot of updates that we're planning to do with both the website itself and the documentation. So feel free to go ahead and chime into those GitHub issues and call and basically chime in that you're interested in helping, or you think you want to see X, Y, and Z, and that's a great way to get involved as well. One other thing I did want to call out is that we will be sending out a survey, a Delta Lake user survey later today in both Slack and email. We'd love to get your feedback about the Delta Lake project. So these are, I want to call it out. This is the initial proposed roadmap, right? Yes, admittedly enough, we are in September now, so there's only 4 months left. So I'll blame myself for initially being first 1 month late, and then we've been going through various discussions together with the community for the last month or so. And so I'm a little late on the survey, so I will call myself out on that one. But by the same token, we're still early enough where if we're seeing other prioritizations like from the community, we're glad to change them accordingly. And in fact, anybody that chimes in and provides feedback, you automatically will get a Delta Lake t-shirt as well. Okay, so this is me broadcasting the brand of t-shirt. So we'd love your feedback. We'll be, like I said, we'll be sending that out later today, and I'll attach it to this YouTube video as well. So just want to call that out. So again, love to get your feedback. So that's it for that point. Any other questions from either the panel or from anybody that's currently on YouTube? QP, did you have any more questions, or?
I have a question.
Shoot, of course.
Okay, so this is for timestamp handling, right? So for the context, in the Delta Lake spec, we defined the timestamp to be of microsecond precision. And but when we write a Parquet in Spark, by default, it's using int 96, which is nanosecond precision, right? So I'm curious what's the expected behavior when, as an alternative implementation, how should we handle this when there is a mismatch between the spec precision and what's physically been written out in Parquet?
Yeah, so basically, I think for this case, we usually just truncate the microseconds to milliseconds. And I think in most of the time, I think this should be fine. Actually, for example, in most of the system, you won't be able to get accurate microseconds.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the implementation is expected to do the conversion, right?
Yeah.
When it reads from the Parquet.
Yep.
Okay, got it. Thanks for the clarification. All right, that's all the question I have.
Perfect. All right, well, I think, let's see if I'm checking YouTube one more time. Doesn't look, oh, here we go. We do have some questions coming in now. Perfect. Can you tell a good example from Delta RS Python to ADLS Gen 2? So any samples available? So I'm going to direct that to you, QP, if that's okay.
So there is a discussion, a really lengthy GitHub discussion in the Delta RS project. I'll send Danny the link, and maybe Danny can link to the issue. Long story short, there are some example code there, but it won't work out of the box because due to some limitations in the ADLS Python file system library. But there is workaround for that.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Yes, I remember reading it, some of the issues from before, but I didn't recall the details any longer. So perfect. Let me take that. Sorry. Okay. Okay. Oh, sorry. Did you Slack me or with that or the link?
I'm still trying to find the link.
Oh, okay. No problem. Okay. Sorry, I heard a Slack and I wasn't sure. Okay. Okay. Open Source Techie says I'm joining the Delta Lake community after almost 2 years. That's great, Open Source Techie. If you can go ahead and chime us with your question, or you can of course you can always ping us on Slack. But yeah. So I think you're coming with a question. So yeah. I'll let you finish your question that you're trying to ask. Okay. Okay. Let's think here. Okay. The Open Source Techie is asking the question, I'm using a Toonie replicate. The issue is that records are coming in late. What is the best practice to use Delta Lake in a CDC system? Okay, so specifically the idea is that you want to do change data capture. So I'm going to start with a quick call out, which is Paul Room and myself actually had done a tech talk. I'll have to find the link and post it here, in which we talk about how using Delta as a CDC source, and it basically sort of calls out some of the best practices to do that. There was an ask in the open source community to potentially open source CDF, change data feed. There have been discussions on whether we can go do that or not. I'm not in purview to what the current discussions are right now. So it's not, I don't think we're against the idea of doing it per se. I think it's more a matter of we're trying to figure out what the priorities are. And right now the priorities unequivocally, even though there's a lot of interest with the CDC, the priorities, at least so far from the community, seems to be much more about the integration points, which is why we've been focusing primarily on that. Saying that, I will find the CDC link shortly, and I'll post it here into this YouTube channel. Jan Luca, you said, can someone shed some light on why we need to strip the user info here? Could you clarify what user information you're saying that is being stripped? Could you clarify that, please, in your YouTube channel, please, chat? Meanwhile, I'll go look for the link. So Jan, yeah, if you can go ahead and potentially get back to us, like about what, could you clarify what your question is, please? Meanwhile, oops, sorry. And meanwhile, I have just shared the CDC best practices video directly into the YouTube channel. So hopefully that helps. That hopefully to Open Source Techie, that's a good starting point, okay, for us. Ramakishan, I hope I said your name correctly. You've asked the question, why the parallelism is default. Oh, great question, actually. And so I'm going to probably direct this to you, Ryan. Why is parallelism disabled by default for vacuum operation? Under what circumstances enabling parallelism for S3 can take a performance hit?
That's one that's mostly because if the S3 has some rate limit of like object deletions, if you like start a lot of like a thread to, or a lot of node to try to delete object concurrently, it's pretty easy to hit a rate limiter, which will like slow down your request. So we decide to know if it enable this by default, because it's harder to check the conditions. For example, if we would like to enable, it may depend on how many like nodes you have, and what's the parallelism you have in the cluster, and also what's the rate limit you are like setting in like S3. So you may need to figure out all these questions and try this by yourself instead.
Thanks very much, Ryan. That's actually super helpful. Ram Kishan, if you have any more questions, definitely chime in here. And Jan, I did go ahead and respond to your point, your question concerning username information. I believe you're referring to the S3 commit service, but could you please clarify that in so that way we can sort of understand a little better what you're referring to. So. Okay. So you hasn't chimed in yet, but if you're referring to the S3 commit service, okay. So okay, gotcha. All right, so so Jan, I'll probably direct this to Ryan or Scott. There's a method in the S3 single driver log store, line 63, where it actually strips the user information from the S3 paths. Okay, I believe, and you guys are going to correct me now, I believe that actually has to do with the fact that we're trying to remove any personal PI information from being logged into the system for security purposes. But I do want to verify that. So Ryan or Scott, if you can chime in there.
Yeah, that's basically just try to prevent like S3 to log your like a user credential. For example, sometimes you can just put the key, S3 key on the path. And then if you try to query this and this file doesn't exist, it may throw like a file not found exception with the full path. We just try to avoid this.
Thanks, Ryan. Okay, so here's what I thought. So thank goodness I'm not completely off. So the context basically is very much we're trying to ensure that, especially from a GDPR or basically from a GRC compliance perspective, that we're basically not logging your credentials directly into S3. That's what we're trying to avoid. So I can understand maybe why you're going like, hey, I'd like to know who the user information is, but from the standpoint of us ensuring that we meet compliance rules, that's the reason why that line's there. So hopefully that answers your question. So. Cool. Well, we've got a couple minutes left before we're gonna sign off. So if you have any other questions, please chime in here on the YouTube channel. We'd love to, like I said, we're try our best to answer all your questions. And then if the question is going to be a little bit longer, like I said before, definitely join us in the Delta User Slack channel, as that will be the best way for us to give more long-winded answers. Cool. All right, well then, you know what? Going once, going twice. Any other questions, anybody? All right, you know what? Then I will call it for today. QP, Ryan, Scott, thank you very much for helping for today's session, Community Office Hours. We will be doing the Community Office Hours every 2 weeks. So this week we're having it at 9 a.m. Pacific, and 2 weeks from now we're going to have it at 4 p.m. Pacific. And then to answer Agent Diro's question, when's the Golang biting y'all going to happen? I did want to chime out that, you know what, whenever you go ahead and write it, Agent Diro, and that's a running joke for everybody who may not realize that that's Tyler, who's decided to chime in from YouTube as opposed to being on this panel today. So it is what it is. So again, thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
All right, see you all.
Bye.